Hi everyone, Peter Vicari again. Yep, I'm down by the boat as always at this time of the year. It's March, and I am just about to change the fuel separator and filter on top of the fuel tank in the boat. I've entered the cockpit locker, as you can see. I've got a few tools out. Okay, so this is just changing the fuel separator filter, and it's just a regular Delphi 296, which is probably very common to a lot of boats. It's pretty very familiar, I think, to a lot of people. And I'm just going to go through a few things. You know, we've got these new gaskets for it. Really important to get that right. And I think one of the things that the comments I've seen about these, I've got obviously only my own experience, which is not extensive. People tend to find that sometimes they get leaks after fitting them. So I will put some gloves on. It is a messy process, this, as I've often mentioned. Diesel engines, maintain them, lots of messy fluids and things. It's just the way they are. Undo this bleed screw here first and drain as much out of it from here before I take the actual filter off. Something else I'm going to do is turn the fuel off. Yeah, that's it. Me thinking out loud as usual. You know, I'm not. So turn the fuel off there, and undo the label place, hopefully where it won't. There we go. There goes the fuel. I'll just take that out. Down somewhere where it's not going to cause a mess. Easy to clear up. So if you've never done this before, you know, it's just a bit messy. Maybe this is helpful seeing how, you know, what stuff needs to happen. So basically, as you can see, the whole filter is exposed and comes off, and you can also get filters where but you can get the bottom piece here that's transparent, which is kind of quite cool, because that means you can see if there's water in the system at all. And it looks pretty clean. Can't be absolutely sure, but it looks pretty good. It doesn't appear to have any water or gunk or nasties like diesel bug in it. And the other thing I'll mention here is that I had this fuel tank, which, as you can see, looks pretty clean. That's because it was new last season. My old mild steel one had got a leak and it had to be replaced. It was rusted at the bottom. It was 30 years old, 35 years old. It was the original tank, and had to go. So I've managed to take that fuel out without making too much of a mess. So it's now a case of taking the old filter off. Now there's a gasket in here, which I've got to get out. Damaging anything too much, of course you're going to get leaks. Anyway, there's another little gasket in here. Frankly, I'm going to leave that one in. It's more difficult to get out. I'm going to take a risk with that. You do get them all in the pack. Leave your comments about whether you think that's wise or not. Just put a little bit of oil or fuel actually on the gasket. So that it's coated. It's something that they say you should do. And I am pushing the gasket up into its ridge in its kind of socket manually and making sure it's not crossed at all. It's not full confident. I can see that that's pretty damn good. Okay. Push this back up over its. Okay. That's cool. Okay, right. And now for the bottom part. So again, a little bit of fuel on here to get it nice and wet with fuel. And then this sits down into that socket there. It's obviously a lot easier to get this one right, but it is really important, again, just making absolutely sure it sits very square and centered on the bottom of the filter. Now, I don't know, this is my guess, is that people say that they have problems with these. I think it's just getting everything seated really square, being really confident that everything is in a good place in that respect. Just making sure this bottom screw hole for the little tap thing, whatever you call that, is in a convenient place. And I'm going to say as well, you know, this, and you've got to get it tight, but not overly tightened. It does require all of that, you know, length all the way around the circumference of the top and bottom of the filter to be perfectly sealed. So it is going to be quite a big ask to ensure that it's not going to leak. I can't imagine what it must be like doing this at night in a seaway if you've got to deal with a filter that's blocked or something. And I can imagine, you know, really, really difficult. It's a lovely sunny day in March doing this and here. So that, I think, is absolutely fine. Oh, there's that other little grommet. You know, I'm going to risk that one again. I think that's all right. do quite like the idea of these ones that have got a glass chamber at the bottom. You can see what's in there. Okay, all good. So it's done. It's all back. Obviously, I'm not going to know whether it's been successful until the engine starts up for the first time when Jenny J goes back in the water. She's due to go back in on the 11th of April. It's just over a month away. But it's all ready, and obviously it's got to be primed. Priming just involves removing all of the air from the system between the fuel tank and the engine itself. So that's through the two filters and all the lines in between. At the moment there's fuel from the separator filter, which I've just fitted, all the way to the engine, but obviously there's lots of air in this filter, so when I start the engine there's plenty of fuel in the system at the other end of it, and so I think the engine will start fine. It's got fuel all the way down the lines. There's quite a lot of fuel in the engine filter, so it'll start and it'll run for a little while and it'll just stop, and it's at that point I will need to tickle the lift pump with the little bleed nut undone on top of the filter. That's the filter on the engine, in order to get all the air out of it, and once I've got the air out of that secondary, or the top of the secondary filter, hopefully at that point the engine will then run properly, but it might take a couple of times, and that's just the process of priming it. Well, thank you for watching. I hope this has been useful and maybe a little bit interesting. It's obviously really more about fuel and the filter itself rather than anything to do with a Moody boat or a Beta Marine engine.